Most of us have probably never really thought about how paper is made. We just assume trees are somehow magically transformed into paper and handed to us as a notebook. So today, let's follow a paper trail to uncover the secrets behind paper production. Get ready for an epic journey! Our quest begins in the sunny island of Sumatra in Indonesia, with rich, fertile soil, along with a warm climate and a good supply of rain. Sumatra boasts an ideal environment for planting and growing trees. In fact, this very plantation, managed by April, plants over 150 million trees every year, which, as we know, help to absorb carbon dioxide and release oxygen, the perfect remedy to global warming. In Sumatra's Riau province, April operates one of the world's most advanced integrated pulp and paper mills. And so, we begin our paper-making process right here, in the research laboratory. This is the birthplace of breakthroughs. Let's ask one of the brainiest scientists to shed some light on their R&D efforts and discoveries.
R&D involves an integrated approach of doing research with various disciplines of science to improve each part of the value chain of the products that we produce, as well as to protect the environment.
So, it's here that these science whizzes gather to develop the best genetic materials, which will be multiplied for large-scale commercial planting. But the research doesn't stop here.
In the analytical lab, we are looking at the analysis of the quality of the water that we supply to the nurseries, monitor plant health and nutrition so that we apply the right amount of fertilizer and the right dosage.
These scientists have also developed the use of biological control so that chemicals don't have to be used to manage pests and diseases. There's also the Power, Pulp and Paper Laboratory, which studies wood properties and the quality of the fibers to improve and develop different types of pulp and paper products. Did you know? The two most popular tree species used for paper making in tropical countries like Indonesia are acacia and eucalyptus. Our next stop is over at the nursery, where the researched farming techniques are applied to grow little baby trees called saplings. With acacia as the tree of choice here, baby acacia seedlings are grown in a very special way. Let's find out more from our nursery expert.
This is Kerinci Central Nursery, one of 3 nurseries that we have. We produce 200 million seedlings per year. Through research, we found the best way to grow fast-growing trees is through a method called vegetative propagation. What this means is that instead of planting the seeds directly in the plantation, we use seeds of superior known origin to grow what we call mother plants. The leaves of these mother plants are then cut and placed into potted medium and are grown under a tightly controlled environment for a total of 8 weeks. If we use seed directly, there's a natural range. Some genetics are good, some genetics are not so good. And we take only those seeds that are of better genetics, and those are what we use to produce some other plants.
So, all these big, tall trees are cloned from a tiny little leaf? Pretty incredible, right? To ensure these seedlings can grow successfully into majestic trees, they are given optimal amount of sunshine, water, and nutrients, and lots of tender loving care from our nursery workers. Grow well, little seedlings! Once these seedlings turn 12 weeks old, they are moved into the plantations where there is enough space for them to grow and mature as trees. Even teenage trees need their own breathing space. Fast forward 5 years, and these seedlings have grown into mature trees ready to be harvested. The accelerated maturation is due to Sumatra's favorable tropical climate. Whereas in temperate climates, the trees take 25 to 40 years to mature. That's 5 to 8 times longer. Did you know? April plants on only 51% of the land it owns. The remaining plots are either conserved or given to local villagers for their livelihood. Let's continue to practice sustainable forestry. After gathering the logs from these trees, we're ready to move into the paper-making factory. Big probably doesn't even begin to describe it. This paper-making factory is one of the largest integrated paper-making factories in the world. With 3 different facilities, a woodyard, a pulp mill, and a paper mill, all within the same compound. The first stop for our logs is the woodyard. Here, the logs are stacked into neat piles and given a bath to get the dirt off. The water used is filtered on the spot after each rinse and reused for new logs. Talk about efficient recycling! The clean logs are then conveyed into a gigantic debarking drum where they are tumbled around to remove the outer layer of the bark. It's like going to a Korean bathhouse to scrub off your dirt. The removed bark is burnt to produce steam to power the facility. This allows it to be completely energy self-sufficient. Think Iron Man's self-sustaining arc reactor. At this paper-making factory, any excess energy is used to power up the nearby town. After debarking, the naked logs are placed inside a massive chipping machine to be chipped. To ensure the best possible product, the wood chips are inspected for quality. They have to pass the inspection before they can move on. The chips contain cellulose fibers that are essential for papermaking. However, a chemical called lignin binds the fibers together tightly. To extract the cellulose, we first have to free the fibers. And this is done in the pulp mill through a process called chemical pulping. Check out the size of these processing tanks! During chemical pulping, lignin is removed using a combination of caustic soda, heat, and high pressure. Talk about a steamy process. After lignin is removed and the fibers are extracted, they have to go through a process called denotting, where uncooked wood is removed from the pulp slurry to create a pulp mass resembling thick porridge. Note to Goldilocks, this isn't edible. The entire operation is monitored carefully in this control room, which has all sorts of fancy equipment necessary to keep a close eye on this process. It's like the mill's own bat cave. Some of the pulp mass is dried in a drying machine and pressed into bales, and undergo another quality check before they are exported to other parts of the world to be made into toilet paper, tissue paper, carton boxes, or other forms of paper packaging. Did you know the lignin we talked about is also further processed and reused as energy to operate the mill? The rest of the pulp travels through a series of pipes to the paper mill to be made into paper. But to turn this mammoth amount of pulp to our everyday paper will require an even larger paper-making machine. This machine stretches almost 220 meters long and stands 17 meters high. Starting with the first section called the head box, the pulp mass is squirted through a horizontal slit over a moving wire mesh to remove the excess water. Water squeezed out from the sheets is collected and treated at the plant's water treatment facility. This means that any water recycled or discharged does not pollute the environment. Under the keen eye of sophisticated engineers in the control room, the pulp fibers are starting to spread out and consolidate into a thin, wet, papery mat, which is then fed into the machine at 95 kilometers per hour. That's about as fast as those cars traveling down the expressway. This wet paper is further processed through a press section, where more water is squeezed out. And over 90% of the water used in this entire manufacturing process is also further recycled. Things then start heating up a little as the sheets are dried over a series of cast iron cylinders at above 100 degrees Celsius. A film of chemicals is then applied onto the dried paper surface to improve the strength and water resistance of the paper, while creating a glossy texture. The sheet is then wound onto 8.5 meter wide giant reels. But unless you have a printer of these dimensions, these sheets are probably out of your league. We'd better cut them up into smaller sizes, which happens over at the WebAssembly sheeter. After being sliced into more reasonable sizes, the paper is checked a final time to ensure it's in tip-top condition, stacked into neat piles and packed into cartons. It's finally ready to be shipped worldwide. And there you have it, the incredible journey a sapling takes to become your pristine white piece of paper. Did you know the paper-making machine can produce enough paper to cover 2,500 soccer fields every day? We hope you have enjoyed this paper-making adventure as much as we did. See you!